All right. And here we are. All right. So I am Dylan Tamlin. I'm here with the City of Kawartha Lakes Digital Squad, and I'm happy to be bringing you a talk all around um, email marketing for small businesses. So let's begin. What is email marketing? That's the first topic we're going to cover today. All right. So email marketing basics. Email marketing may be old, but it is still one of the most effective forms of online marketing that exists out there. This can be found from the return of investments that email marketing will offer in comparison to other forms of online marketing, such as social media, affiliate marketing, those forms. Um, and while I say that email marketing may be old, this is due to it being one of the first forms of online marketing that has been really successful and has carried on throughout the days of the internet as we go forward. One of the reasons why email marketing can be so successful is that you don't face algorithms that will limit your reach in your content. This is a very big issue on services such as like Facebook or Twitter, anything like that, wherein they have control of where your content actually makes it to. So you have to make sure that you work within their algorithms so that your content is distributed to the most amount of places possible. The other strong feature of email marketing is that it protects you against a collapse in service. I'm not sure if you've read the news recently, but there is worries of Facebook pulling out of the European market due to issues around privacy concerns in data handling within the US as opposed to Europe. Those issues can occur, and when that happens, it's essentially like the rug has been pulled out from underneath your business, as if you focus too heavily on one platform, when that platform no longer exists, unfortunately, your channel is gone and you just can't really do too much about that. Having control of your channels, like through email marketing, can help to protect your business against this risk. So now the next feature that email marketing will offer you is direct access to your audience. So this goes along with those algorithms, wherein they can directly access your content provided it's being sent out to them, and it makes it through those spam filters. That's the one holdup for that email marketing. But either way, once you get past that, you actually have direct access to your audience, and those people have already shown interest in either your company, in your brand, or something that you're currently doing. So they're already part of your sales funnel. So the next piece about email marketing is that it does take time to build. You have to put some effort into building up your email list, working on your content that you'll be using. It takes a bit of time, but after it's been built, it can be very, very effective at getting your message out into the community and reaching those customers that have already shown interest in your business. So moving on. How to start. This can be a daunting topic, where to actually start into with your email marketing strategy. So the first piece that you'll have to do is build up your email mailing list. So we're going to go into a little bit more about this regarding the regulations later, but first we're going to talk about just ways that you can actually attract those clients and get them to allow you to contact them through email. So the first piece is have email opt-in links on your website. So this is very common on most landing pages for a website. It'll be found right around near the bottom of the page. These are used to just capture emails of users as they go onto your website. It's very handy to have it there, and it's passive. You don't have to work towards it after having that set up. But you can work towards writing call to actions specifically around sign up. So these could be, say, pop-ups that occur on your website. They could be, say, social media posts that are specifically around your email marketing activities. Included in this is you could offer special deals or specials specifically that users will have to make use of signing up for your email mailing list to access. So for example, making use of coupon codes that are only sent out through your email marketing. This will allow for a level of exclusivity for the users, so they feel a little bit more part of a community as a whole, which adds back to them. And this also allows for you to have an idea of how successful those emails are based upon usage of those coupon codes, that sort of idea. But the main piece is that you're offering something to get something back from your customers. One piece that can be very helpful for getting those emails. So now the next thing is to get your email service provider. Potentially your website may have this built in. For example, if you have a website built through HubSpot, they will include in their HubSpot emails customer relationship management software. Other examples of this would be MailChimp. It's very popular. I believe the most popular system for this out there. And then beyond this, there's things like Constant Contact. We'll discuss more of these email service providers later on in this presentation, but just good to be aware of them as we go along. So now the next step is the same with any form of marketing, is to define your campaign goals and then segment your market along those goals. So we'll dive in more on these ideas later, but this is the broad strokes that you want to cover. Okay, so I would like to be clear here. I am not legal counsel. I'm just bringing these anti-spam legislation pieces to your awareness. This does not act as a specific legal advice. I want to make sure that is clear before we dive into these things, just because the penalties for some of these regulations can be rather severe. So understanding the rules that exist within email marketing is very important before you actually begin. So off the top, we have the Canadian anti-spam legislation, CASL here in Canada. Then there's the General Data Protection Regulations in the EU, and then there's CAN-SPAM in the USA. These are three pieces of legislation that specifically cover communications between businesses and the general public. So these don't even have to be ads. They could even just be general awareness pieces that you're sending out. Either way, you still have to have consent of the users in order to have them on your mailing list. So the next piece is to make sure that your email marketing content follows the regulations for the area of the customer. As I've said with those names, each of those pieces of legislation is specific to a country, and they cover the users in those countries. So for example, with the GDPR, that will cover all citizens of the European Union, my apologies there. And the penalties can be waged against a business that isn't in the EU, provided they're still advertising to a citizen of the EU. So that is why I would like to make sure that it is clear that you're following the regulations for the area of the customer specific, just so that you don't get caught up in any of those legal hassles. And the next piece that you should be aware of are those email spam filters. So you'll need to make content that passes spam filters. So have to make sure that the content in your email will pass through content filters. Then beyond that, you'll have to make sure that your headings will pass through heading filters. These filters will search through for, say, common phrases that are found in spam, common usage of specific words, and overall, that can make it so that your emails don't actually land. You can test your content before you actually send it out with tools like MailGenius to actually make sure that it'll pass those spam filters. This is a great way when you're starting out to make sure that what you're doing is going to work. Will it actually work for attracting those customers? You'll have to find some tests on that specifically. We'll cover that in a little bit here, but this will at least help you to make sure that your content is reaching those users. All right. So Now we're going to go into starting off an email campaign. Okay, so to start, you'll need consent from your users for contact. Here in Canada, as we just covered, that is under the Canadian anti-spam legislation. So this will generally be covered in that email sign up piece, just a little checkbox that shows that they consent to communications from your business. So the next piece is to offer incentives to sign up your customers. This can be done both in-store and for users online. This is important, as we covered earlier, as giving those users just that little piece that brings some value to what they're doing can really help with that decision making. So now the next piece is build in email capture forms on your website. These can be spaced out throughout different pages. As I mentioned before, it's a common tactic to put one on your homepage, your landing page, but really these email capture forms could be placed on any place of your website. For example, if you're writing out blogs with specific content, you could then just toss in your email capture form right at the bottom and then have that so that people can seamlessly sign up after they're done reading the content. This will allow you to capture interested consumers for your business, and overall they can be placed into a sort of better lead than just a generic user on social media, as they've already shown they're aware of what you're doing and they're already interacting with your content. So now the next piece is to promote that email sign up across all communication channels in use. So I'm talking quite a bit about making use of your website, if you have one for this, or making use of in-store customers to build this up. But you can also make use of your existing communication channels like social media. So for example, you could design a campaign specifically around generating those signups, offering something back to a user, and promote that across social media with the use of content targeting that. This is just one example of a strategy that you can make use of to build up that email list. All right, so now the next piece is choosing the right email service provider for you. This is a very, very useful part of email marketing. Email service providers will offer things like automation features, access to analytics. All of that will improve both your current strategies for email marketing. With that analytics, you can figure out tests that will actually tell you what you're doing and if it's working. Outside of that, those automation features can really set up a simplified workflow for you. For example, setting up a system of, say, when the user first lands on your website, sending out a thank you for signing up email, and then if they don't read that, send out another email. If they do read that, send out email B. And those automation features can then just lead to a sort of sales funnel that you don't have to work towards. You just have to set it up and make sure that your pieces that you're actually segregating on flow seamlessly. But that just takes a bit of time to set up and test. So beyond this, we're going to talk about what those email service providers are. So we covered MailChimp earlier, Constant Contact, HubSpot a little. There's also Salesforce. Generally, your website will also provide some tools or will allow you to add in these tools if they do not. So having an email service provider will make this process much easier, but one piece that you should be aware of is that price tiers will vary across them all. For example, Salesforce is generally a business-to-business sort of platform, and with that comes a much steeper price than, for example, just making use of the website provided tools. So you'll have to just check out pricing and figure out what you would be looking for in terms of the features offered. All right. So now, next piece, as we covered before, is working on that segmentation and targeting. So this is that last step to building up that campaign. Break up your audience according to demographics and psychographics that you can collect. So how you can actually collect this data would be to make use of forms and polls for data collection, and then you can collect that feedback from your audience. Why you want to make sure that you're collecting that feedback is that you can make sure that you're making content that your audience wants. People aren't going to engage with things they aren't interested in, so you have to really tailor your content towards your audience specific. All right, we cover that actually in the next point of making your content fit the customer or audience interests. Beyond this, make use of that analytics and test your strategies to actually see if what you're doing is working. Things that you'll want to look for would be like your click-through rate, your open rate, and see if these are improving or if they're getting worse with the changes that you're making. All right, so now we're going to dive into content. All right, so we're going to work on how you can perfect your email content. This will require tests. We've mentioned this quite a few times throughout this presentation and in past presentations, but testing is very important to make sure that what you're doing is as good as it can be. So you're going to want to track those open click-through rates. You're going to want to make use of special offer codes and trackable features. For instance, if you have a specific code that is sent through in an email group and then a different code that is sent through in a different email group, you can now make use of the actual sales relating to those email offer codes and figure out which of those two emails has performed better. Moving forward, you can then make your content similar to the one that has been better. Simple enough strategy, just takes time to work through. Now, as we said prior, make sure that the content and the audience match. People interact with content that actually speaks to them. And lastly, a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, I've been making use of a lot of words today. Pictures are very important to convey a deeper message. So we're actually going to look at some pictures of some email newsletters at the end of this and cover just some good aspects and bad aspects about them so that you have an idea of what all we're talking about here today. All right, so suggestions on your subject lines. These are very important. They're the first thing that a user is going to see when they are looking at your email message. It's that subject line. You have to stand out. Millions of emails every day are sent. As we covered at the start, this is a very old form of marketing in the online sphere, but it's still very effective. And with that, lots of places are making use of it. So you'll have to find ways to write your content that it stands out to your users. With this, you'll want to be clear, concise, and creative. Don't make use of, old tricks that have already been used very often. As we cover down below, those spam words of free, discount, and save, make money. When you're making use of those things, it cheapens your brand image to your users overall. And this can affect how ultimately how effective your email marketing will be. So now the next piece is to connect your subject line to your content. Make sure that what the first thing that the person reads is actually what that email will convey to them. So for instance, if you're promoting a sale and your headline is all about an exclusive offer to the user, don't go in and have an informational newsletter below that, because that's not really what you're trying to do. You're doing a promotional thing, something to lead to sales. So now avoid those spam words, as we said just a little bit ago. Free, discount, save, make money. They're common enough, but they do cheapen that brand. Instead, lean on words more like sale or promotion, as I slipped in earlier, exclusive offer. These leave a more positive sentiment to the user. But if you're ever wondering about more words that you can expand into, my suggestion there is to test your content. Set up emails sent off to one place with one subject line, and that same email sent off to another place with a slightly different subject line. Figure out what is working best with your audience and move forward. So now here are some design tips. You're going to want to standardize your template to your message type. So I mentioned in that last slide, the idea of a promotional email versus a email used to convey information. These have two different end goals for why you're sending them out to the user. And ultimately, it would be best to make use of two different templates for them because they have two different uses. So the other piece with standardizing that template, though, is to make sure you stick with a similar theme for instance for your promotional emails. Don't switch it up every few emails because then users aren't as familiar with the content they're being shown. They won't know where they want to look, and it'll lead to a perceived image that you just aren't being consistent. And consistency is very important for users. So now the next piece is to avoid those hard to read fonts in text that blends into the background. As we can see, this font isn't terrible to read, and it still does stand out of the background a bit, but it's harder to read than the rest. And that little bit can be enough that users will click away. So now the next piece is to include call to actions across your template. So as you're putting in those images in your text, put in some buttons with a call to action, places that they'll click away, and you can direct them to where you want. So now include aspects of your brand's current design choices, connect it back. You'll want to make sure that your users recognize that this email is from your organization. So this is, for instance, making use of your brand's color themes throughout the template. This is also including like your logo in there, all those things. Having an email signature at the bottom that is conveyed across all of those email messages, just to make sure that it's all in line. Those are ways that you can work to make sure that your design is seamless across. So now we're going to look at those examples. So first off, right here is a newsletter brought to you by Tumblr. This is about them being nominated for a award for a Webby. The issue with this one right here is specifically about that text and background color choice. The dark blue background does match Tumblr's themes, of course, but then that black text is just so hard to read that it doesn't stand out. And you're going to lose people before they actually get through this message because they're not going to be able to read this as easily as they should be able to. Ultimately, due to that, this isn't as effective as it could have been. So now this next one, it has completely different issues. It is a nice print ad, of course. It would work well for a menu cover, but there's no call to action in this. There's nothing that is actually directing users away in providing value to them. Overall, that's kind of the issue. You need to have something that's directing your users to what you want. That'll connect it to that goal that you've already set when you began your campaign. So now this is an example from Reebok. This one here, as we can see, they have their logo and name right at the top. The design flows throughout the whole thing. There are call to actions included, pictures with a balance of words. The words stand out from the background, and then they have the important pieces of their text boldened so that they stand out to users without them having to read through it in depth. So then they have their specific piece that they're highlighting in here, have it highlighted in image form and in text. This overall is very, very effective. Beyond this, they then have more links that you can click off to that'll send you to specific areas in their website. They have more pieces that are useful for users. Overall, effective in their design choices. So now next one that we're going to look at is this one here for a chicken place. They're advertising their house-made lemonade. This one here ultimately is still effective as well. It isn't as designed as that Reebok one was, but we still see their brand name right at the top. They have a color theme that goes throughout, text that stands out, and an image right in the center that catches the eye. Below that, we have a call to order and then links to social media to keep them looped in. These are all things that you can include in your email marketing, depending on the template that you choose, of course. And they're all just tips that I would say to work into your design as you go along. All right. So that is what we have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. If there are any questions, you can drop them down in the chat below or say them out loud now if you'd like. Otherwise, we can also be contacted at digitalsquad@kaworthlakes.ca, or you can go to that link that is right there, and it'll take you to our website with the City of Kawartha Lakes. Yes, so thank you everyone for attending. In addition, as I said at the start of this, this is being recorded, so this recording will be accessible to you at any time. It will be hosted on the Digital Squad's YouTube channel. You will be receiving an email tomorrow with both the recording and information about our upcoming talks. Yes, so beyond that, thank you for attending, and have a great day, guys.